Welcome to the Geek Freaks Podcast, Episode 6, Outlook versus Gmail. Today with us, we have Ben Hillard in spirit and in voice, and Thomas Darrington. You're like a ghost, Ben.
It's nice to be here.
It's nice to be a ghost. So, guys, in your technical background and technical experience, we brought you in because you've seen a little bit of both. So, so we know what you use here, right? It's Outlook. Because
yeah.
What if Ben's like, no, I don't. I use
I've
iMail.
just been using Gmail the whole time.
Yeah.
Do you guys use Outlook, like Outlook at home or Gmail at home? Or what are you guys using for like your personal email? Because I know inside it's all Outlook. So what are we working with?
I actually still have a Hotmail account.
Really?
Not
you do?
Yeah, no, I still have a Hotmail account.
That's a thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's from like 1998. My sister set it up for me, and I've been using it ever since. So
Your sister?
That's fair.
yeah.
Your sister set it up for you?
Yeah, I was like 10 years old. So
My sister set up my Gmail account, and I was 10 years old.
there we go.
You guys are just breaking the EULAs by having adults do it for you?
I mean, that's how you get around it.
So I'm Gmail at home. Like, so I have my own personal email. It's Gmail. I only have like 3 email addresses.
I also have a Gmail account with the Hotmail account.
I
that's
don't
more for
actually
spam
use
now.
Gmail anymore.
Why?
I moved to Proton Mail.
To what?
I moved to Proton Mail because I'm very indie and cool.
You need to explain. Well, like you talked to me about this before. What is
Proton Mail is a mail service. They are focused on mostly privacy, so they have zero knowledge, and I use them for my primary email address. It's, my email at myemail.com. I pay, I think, $5 a month for it. And I've got about 5 gigs of space, and, I just send emails every so often.
So they don't, okay, so we could talk about that, I guess, real quick. So Gmail, you essentially are the product. That's why it's free, right? Because they're harvesting all your data.
Right.
Microsoft, though, I don't know if they do that, right? Because if you have an Office 365.
I think they do.
They're constantly asking if they can scrape your data. So
you're saying I'm paying to be scraped?
I mean, I don't know how in depth they're getting them. I
don't
just
know.
Checking like usage.
And I don't really know if it's for the paid accounts. I think it's for mostly the free accounts.
That they scrape?
Yeah, I mean, like with our Outlooks I'm using the Outlook app, I get the contextually automatically generated messages. So I assume there's like scraping something.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I assumed at this point in this day and age, everybody's checking some type of usage data or something, and how much of your privacy is getting pulled in that, I have no idea. But
well, I know that, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Sure.
But no, we have to talk about it right now because it's going to bug me.
Okay, yeah.
But isn't it wild to think that either of these platforms that we do business on or with in some form or fashion is reading the business that we're doing within it?
Yeah.
I'm
not.
I don't know if it's necessarily like that out there. I mean, they have to pay their employees somehow, and it's not going to be like community supported because community support things are either really great or utter garbage. So I think they've got to go like, yeah, we have to make a profit somehow. I think it makes a lot of sense. So they go, let's sell what we can.
But what I'm saying from the aspect of I do deals, I broker deals with customers via email all the time. Now that's being scraped.
Right.
Can that be sold to my competitor? What are they doing? You know what I mean? I
feel
that's
like
a whole
it's more
discussion.
advertisement purposes. They're just trying to catch keywords of things that you like or are interested in, or just topics in general, and then take that and will then advertise you in their other space with that. So,
and okay, so let's talk to that. So Gmail, besides Ben's weird privacy email,
the sweet Proton Mail.
Yeah. So Gmail and Outlook are kind of like the kings of business, right?
Right.
Who is the king? If you had to I mean, we all read the same stuff, but I would believe in this business world that Outlook rules the day.
Right.
But I'm being told that I'm mistaken for that. And Gmail is like the personal one, right? Because it's always been free. You can have your sister sign up for it for you.
Right, exactly. I actually agree with that. Outlook integrates better with everything, business-wise, whereas Gmail is much more friendly for like an individual user, and it also provides like the free apps, right? So you get like the Docs, the Google Docs, and the Google Sheets and all that, instead of having to buy. And like I just got a new laptop, and it was immediately like, hey, you can test Office, but you got to pay for this after like X amount of days. Whereas if I have my Gmail account, I can just use it. So I feel like
Now yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, now does Outlook or 365 not also offer that across the board now?
So
For at least like their
365
consumers?
does, but like the individual user accounts, I guess I don't know if they do.
Yeah.
I've never really delved into it, but I know if I want to use like the applications on my computer, I have to buy those, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, and that's the other thing is like Gmail doesn't offer those, but it's, and there's ways around it. I don't know. It's kind of a moot point, but for like an individual user base, I feel like Gmail is the better option, but for company-wide,
Yeah.
Office 365 Outlook.
So I've had Gmail. I've never used the apps like Docs or
Really?
spreadsheets or whatever it's called. I never used them ever.
The only ones I've used is Sheets, I guess.
That's their spreadsheet tool?
Yeah, exactly. But to be fair, I kind of use Excel for probably way more than I should. So, like, I like it better than Word for managing documents. I'm kind of a monster like that.
So for business though, is Gmail cheaper than Outlook? Because I know Outlook's like $15 a month per user. What's Gmail come at? Anybody know?
I think it varies.
It depends on your licensing. So, like, if you're doing it for like a basic license, it's like $6 for Gmail and like $5 for like a business essentials from 365. But for like a higher level, it ends up being like 12 to 25, and then it like gets crazier and Gmail actually ends up being a little bit cheaper, but you don't get as many features. You don't get like the free like the Office actual applications instead of.
And I think it gets overlooked a lot of times too, right? Because Gmail is cheaper for business, but you don't get Office. And the thing you're going to run into is if you do business from a B2B aspect, you're not going to send somebody a Google sheet,
Right,
and be like, hey, yeah, go ahead and check this out. Like, it's from business to business. It's typically Microsoft applications,
right,
that most people use.
which I don't
Now,
know.
G Suite can save as Word documents, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that's-
format wise, you can change it. Yeah,
So if I send Ben, you're using G Suite, and I send you an Outlook, a Word document, you can open it up in whatever their word processor is.
Yeah, you can.
And the other thing that I didn't like about Gmail when we looked at it was that it didn't have like a true folder. Like Outlook's got the folders, the blah blah blah, and then Gmail's like labeling and doing a lot of.
yeah. I hate the way they
algorithms.
organize. Even in my regular personal Gmail, I can't stand it. But it's because I'm more used to the folder structure from like Windows. So the fact that just integrates over with Outlook, I feel like it's much more organized. Whereas in Gmail, I'm just like trying to figure out how to label things.
And I would, what is it? Two versions ago that Microsoft came out with the Spotlight search thing where you can search all the documents on the computer, and they got the same thing built into Outlook. I love that feature.
Right.
I've tried doing it in my Gmail, like personal Gmail. It works pretty well, but not. I feel like it falls short. Like, I don't know if it goes through the trash or not. I just don't understand the platform enough to be comfortable with it.
Yeah, I don't know. Searches always get weird. There's always either it works great or you've got indexing issues. So
Yeah.
But I am seeing, though, Ben, I don't know if you know everything that's going on here. We're looking at different service desk tools and sales CRMs and all that other stuff. A lot of them now are integrating with Gmail pretty seamlessly. But now Office, like, that was always a thing, and now Office 365 is being something that's being used in the same fashion.
Right.
I imagine that's happening because it's kind of cut the same way. Like, it's a web app. Here's the APIs, blah, 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 so on and so forth.
Which, I mean, I feel like that's kind of the future, especially the way that Microsoft's pushing their products, trying to go more cloud-based. So since Gmail and everything's already there, they've already got a leg up on that. So in the end, like, I don't know how far in the future, but I feel like they're going to pull ahead in terms of for new businesses, whereas older businesses are going to stick to what they know. Like Mac users and everything, I think have an easier time using Google applications and Gmail and all that over the Office applications. They just don't integrate as well.
I disagree with you on that
Yeah.
aspect. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think I see businesses, and like when G Suite came out, a lot like the Los Angeles Police Department was like the first big thing. Like, oh yeah, we're switching to Gmail.
Yeah.
And then they found out like 5 years later they switched back to Outlook
Right.
because they were having so many issues. But I still think that to your point though, people are going to still be stuck in like, I know how to use Outlook, I know how to use Word, and it's
Right.
familiar. I think as kids coming up in school, it's been a while for me, but I think they're all using web platform based products now.
Right.
Like that's what they're learning on.
Both are actually free to students. You can get the Office-based application or the Outlook integration and all that, or the Gmail version, and both are free to students, like the full the enterprise
Full
level
package?
stuff. Yeah.
All right, scenario. You're going to start a company today. What productivity package are you guys going with? You're going to go with Gmail and the Google Suite, or are you going to go with
365.
Office 365?
Yeah, I would go with Office 365.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And I would do why though. I guess let's explain the why.
Ben, you go first.
I could go with like how well it integrates with Active Directory. I'm assuming that from starting a business, I'm probably gonna have an AD, and I think it's really, really. I think Thomas mentioned this earlier, right? When we were talking, you said, yeah, Office 365 integrates really well with Active Directory. So I would say it's pretty easy just based on that. I'd like something a little seamless, and I don't want to have to and I'm also more familiar with Active Directory. I don't want to relearn everything just so I can use G Suite.
Right.
So I might just be like, yeah, I'm an old dog. I don't want to learn new tricks.
Yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on it as well. So I've worked with Windows forever. I know that integration from like an sysadmin standpoint. It's like I work with Active Directory. It's real simple to use. Managing that with the integration with 365, being able to use the Azure Sync going across, everything's great. And I feel like that was kind of my point earlier about the people who've used this forever, they're going to stick with it. And because it integrates so well together, there's not a problem. If you're massively Windows-based users, you're not going to have as much of an issue with 365 as you would either relearning G Suite or just managing G Suite in general. So yeah, that's pretty much my reason. It's the same as yours. It's just it integrates better. It has a more seamless connection to it, and it offers a lot. There's a lot of space issues that come with G Suite. You run into a lot of I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Office 365 offers like a terabyte of cloud storage. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lot for each individual user as part of the license.
No, and I think it goes back to, I think Google tried really, really hard to be a one-stop shop, and they should have took what made Microsoft amazing. Like we had a customer, you guys both weren't here when they had that. We had a customer that was on Gmail, and we maintained it for a while to get Outlook contacts and stuff to go in. They had to run a sync tool all the time.
Right.
Because they didn't quite have the IMAP, whatever it is, connectivity, so it just didn't work. And I think that's the reason why most businesses are successful. And it is probably an easy use thing and like, hey, I know this program, but I think a lot of it is that you don't have those weird, funky issues on your Windows-based computer or on your Windows-based network.
Right, absolutely.
It's great for your phone. Like my Gmail works great on my phone. But my Windows now, I think they kind of switch places, like, or they're switching spots.
Mm-hmm.
Gmail used to be the king of mobile. They had a great app, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Now the Outlook app is just as fantastic for business as it is
love the Outlook app.
Anything else. I think it's come a long way. I don't even use the native email application that comes on the phone.
Right.
It's coming a long way. And I too, I didn't weigh in because it was the same thing. I'd go with Office, Outlook over Gmail, simply from me being the privacy guy to being like, well, are they scraping my information? I feel more comfortable with Microsoft than I do Gmail or Google, because I know, all the evil stuff that goes on there. And again, the lesser of two evils in my mind is Microsoft.
Right.
So If you're going to, so if you're just going to look at features, so we're going to sit down and we're going to say, here's G Suite, here's Office 365. Which one has a more robust feature set in your eyes?
Robust?
I was going to say, I feel like they're both actually very similar in what they offer. I guess if we're talking like applications, they both have the exact same. Now, whether or not like the quality of those applications and the availability of those applications.
What would be the G Suite answer to Skype or Teams? Would that be like the G Chat?
Hangouts chat, yeah.
Yeah, they've got their own version. It's called Teams for them, Google Teams as well.
Is it?
Oh, I thought Teams was something else.
It's like their Skype integration kind of thing.
So.
Oh, okay.
To me, even that seems clunky because I've used their G Chat before, right? There's no way to
I don't like it, yeah.
Yeah, no. Email's pretty on par with webmail.
Yep.
Where the biggest diffeence would be the client side of Outlook versus
the organization and management.
Because again, and I could be wrong, but Gmail was born to live in the cloud, and now currently,
right,
Office 365 is both.
Right.
So, and I don't foresee.
I think the biggest.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'd say the biggest strength that Microsoft has is probably like the core apps, but every like secondary app seems to be lacking in a way, and that's where I think G Suite Google really just kind of steps up. But also Google's been very inconsistent with like how long they'll support an app. I mean, we're going to replace Gmail with Inbox for times, and Inbox died. There's rumors of Hangouts going away and they're replaced by Hangouts and Hangouts Chat, and it's very. If they stick to something, they're very good at it. But if they don't stick to it, it's just a little too inconsistent for my taste.
So you're saying that you think that Microsoft has better secondary apps, or are you saying?
I think Microsoft has better core apps, and
so what?
Gmail has.
Yeah. So by like secondary apps, what do you mean? Like,
I would say like Flow, or what is that one where you can automate tasks?
That's Flow.
Or Planner. Is that Flow? Great. Flow, Planner, Yammer.
Well, that's like
they have one for like just internally hosted video, so it's kind of like a YouTube alternative for a business, and it's just I don't think those are great. I don't entirely get the purpose of Microsoft Delve and things like that.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you think that it's because people haven't just found a good use for them yet, or do you actually think the features inside of those programs aren't great?
I think it's a mix of both. I think Microsoft is like playing around with ideas and then just going like, here's something that we've made and we love your feedback on it. But I don't necessarily know if it was a great idea to release it to the public, because a lot of what Gmail does well is also things that they just released for, here's something that was made for the consumer that we brought into a business. I think that's how G Suite got its start. And so it was like, we've got a great service for consumers, and we're just going to make it a business.
That's a good point, because that's how I feel about the whole suite itself. Like, it was meant to be something that I would use at home, and now we're trying to shoehorn it into business. Yeah. But do you think the factors such as like employees' ages or corporate versus startup companies should play into effect whether you're choosing Office 365 or G Suite?
No.
You say should. I don't think should, but maybe. Like,
I guess a better way to phrase it, do you think they do play a part?
I think a little bit.
People are making these decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, they'll say something like if it looks sleeker.
Oh yeah, I'm big on that.
Yeah. So a lot of people will just pick something just because it looks sleeker and not think about the way that it integrates with what they're using, which has been countless issues that we've dealt with. It looks great, but if you use a whole month just to get it working, is it worth your time?
Lipstick on a pig, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I think like we've had a lot of companies that we've converted from Gmail over to Office 365, and you ask them why they chose that platform, and they're like, well, it was cost effective at the time, and we just kind of dealt with the downfalls. The Google Drive is great. People love it, but now it's clunky, and sheets and whatever all the other stuff is difficult, but I think it does have more to play than what we think.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Now, I forget, is G Suite newer than 365 or 365 newer than G Suite? Which one is, I know both their rollouts were really rough because I think I was working around both the times, like they both took off.
I
And I
believe G
remember
Suite came
hating.
first over 360. Like
Yes.
Okay.
the Office
I definitely remember
existed,
hating
Exchange
like
existed.
365 in like 2014.
365 came off of Exchange Online, didn't it? Wasn't that the?
Yep. Yeah. So, and you can buy this stack. You can buy, so it's going to be boring, but we can purchase the Azure stack from Microsoft as service providers, and we could provide everybody with all this software, right?
Right.
So essentially it's the same thing. We just can't, like, there's no really service provider for Google. That's just what they do. I mean, a lot of our companies, even one of our bigger competitors in town, they use predominantly G Suite applications.
Right.
And they're like the Gmail company. What do you, okay, so we got to come to a conclusion, and we've already talked about it, but are we all still pro Office 365 over Gmail? If you had to make, so a brand new company, somebody sitting across the table for you, you have a 30-second sales pitch for your pick. Who wants to go first?
A 30-second sales pitch for my
like
pick.
why they should go with Office 365 or Gmail.
I mean, yeah, I would say Office 365 just for the integration purposes and ease of use. You would just be able to get going right away, and everything would be pretty smooth.
I think the price point too.
Yeah.
And what you get for it. Ben, do you want to give it a try? Are you going to be the contrarian?
I can play devil's advocate here. Yeah. Imagine all the fun of Google for business.
I mean, that's something we didn't touch on for that was with the Google usage, you do get their search engine for
your stuff.
For your stuff, which is kind of cool. They do have the best search engine, but I think that's like the biggest moot. I guess I just made the biggest moot point of this whole thing is that, they've got a great search engine, but is that really all you need?
Didn't Google also sell hardware for a time? Didn't they sell like a server that could be used for your business as well?
Yes, it was bright yellow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Did that integrate with G Suite at all?
Yeah, that was like its whole thing.
So.
Like it was a SBS competitor.
And I guess if we're trying to conclude, but I'm bringing up other points. Chrome, if you're using Chrome-based devices, or if like Google Chrome itself is really like your prominent web browser, G Suite does give you better management features for those specifically. Mm-hmm. So if you're like purely like Chrome tablets and using Chrome as your browser, you have a lot more control, especially, and you can integrate like your Android phones and everything like that to it too. So if that's your whole company, then that's maybe the one aspect where G Suite would kind of
step out ahead.
Yeah,
but the problem with any Google Chrome device is that they're woefully underpowered.
Oh yeah. No, they're terrible.
Because you're only expected to run those handful of apps that they provide from the cloud. So if I had a potential prospect that was like, hey, we're all Chromebooks,
right,
I would say you immediately have to switch out all your equipment because it's $300. I get that, but I can't do anything with it.
Right. It's
all you can do is
super light client.
Yeah.
What's their use case then? Like, were they doing a lot of heavy work? Because I also think Google allows you to rent, I think, not hardware, is it like space on a server? So if you want to run something a little more computationally taxing.
Yeah, they do it. So they have
rent it out.
They have hosting space kind of like to compete with Azure, which they got kind of left in the dust this last year because Microsoft got the U.S. government contract that they're trying to squash right now.
Right.
But that they got that, so they kind of developed a little bit more, and that's why Azure took off with all the security and stuff. But no, I think the biggest use case for like Chromebooks or Google, I mean, is a college or classroom setting that you just want devices that you can reset and somebody can log in and have all their stuff pretty much immediately because it's going to switch hands a lot. I mean, that's a huge benefit of those Chromebooks is like if you put them in when I worked in education, you put them in a classroom. I sit down and use it. I put it back in the cart to charge. Thomas comes in, logs in with Thomas's email. It gets all his stuff. He's ready to go, and then so on and so forth through the class periods. But now they're doing like that's kind of scaled out too, and now they're doing like iPads and stuff for kids. So that kind of landscape is always changing.
Right.
I would be interested to see though what schools are using currently.
Right.
Because they are all ever changing. Like they're a large platform that changes consistently every year, new students in, old students out. I would be interested to see what they're doing. I know when I left the school district, they were transitioning over to Exchange.
Right.
But I don't know if they stayed on it. You know, that would be
I know
something.
a lot are starting to go to tablets, and they're like iPads, and I'm always impressed that these school systems are using like these $1,000 devices, just giving them to students. But
well, the other issue for me with that is they don't do anything to manage those devices,
Right.
and they don't do anything to protect your kids.
Right.
So you read about all this.
Well, I think
go ahead.
the iPads is like, and mobile device management for iPads is a little difficult because I don't know if Apple gives you a lot. I know there are like alternatives, like I think Jamf was one of them, and it's good,
Right.
but I don't know if they're like working with MDM providers who are like, yeah, I want to do this great thing, and here's how I'm going to do it. I don't think Apple's really giving them a lot to go on there. But I think the good comparison would be if you're in an all Apple environment, would you go with Microsoft Office or would you go with G Suite?
I would.
Fairly neutral playing field there.
How
about that?
My recommendation would be Office 365.
Really?
I used it for that short time that I didn't have a computer. I used the MacBook, and Outlook was pretty comparable.
Right.
The biggest issue I had is that the buttons weren't the same, and that was on me because I
Right.
didn't understand the device well enough. But it functioned as it should, like as a Windows experience would be.
Sure. I would go with G Suite just for the Mac users personally, or a Gmail setup. Office 365 does have great integration with it, and you can use the applications. I just find the less I have to do on the actual computer and the more web-based stuff that I can do, it's easier. And I guess in that aspect, if I'm just doing that, Office 365 does have that ability. So I guess it's a toss-up.
Yeah, I don't think it's that far of a dip, like a
Yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say disparity, but that's not the right word. That's not even a word, I don't think. It's not that big of a gap anymore.
Right.
Now that Office 365 is fully launched, feature-rich, I think it's a much smaller gap. And if you look at pricing and then what the industry itself is using, it's kind of tough not to go to Windows.
Oh, yeah.
Or
absolutely.
Microsoft, excuse me.
If this conversation were happening like 3 or 4 years ago, it would probably be a different debate because right now everything's very comparable and everything's very nice.
Right.
No, I 100% agree with that because when they launched G Suite, it was like, holy shit, this is next level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're like, you can do
Yeah.
all this stuff in the cloud. You don't have to have a computer anymore. You can share devices. Cool. And then Microsoft announced, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, that they were pulling off SBS boxes, and they were doing it because they want everybody to go to Office 365. And that forced a lot of changes. And then also forced their platform to get better quicker. I mean,
Right.
sure, they were behind the game with the phone apps and shit, but you're not going to type a Word document up on your phone.
No.
Most people won't. I'm not saying everybody won't, but
Somebody
most people
will,
won't.
Yeah.
So I think it's very comparable. But all right, well, I appreciate it. Thanks for listening to the Geek Freaks podcast. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, and all other platforms, or subscribe to our email newsletter so you get the updates whenever we do this and we record it and post it. You get an email saying, hey, it's up. And tune in for next week's episode. Ben, I appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on the call with us. And we'll talk to you soon, Bubba.
Yeah. See you, Billy.
Yeah. See you soon.